INEX continuous voter registration is still on. If you haven't registered, this is your chance. Coming up this hour, President Tinubu reaffirms commitment to global partnerships and security. U.S. military reportedly planning possible airstrikes in Nigeria. U.S. targets visa ban, asset freeze for Mieti Allah over Christian persecution claims. Rivers primary health workers threaten strike over unpaid arrears. On the foreign scene, Nancy Pelosi announces retirement after decades in U.S. Congress. I'm Sam Chinedu, and the news continues after the break.
Please listen to this announcement. The chair
Welcome back. Now, we begin the news this evening by telling you that President Bola Tinubu says his administration is committed to strengthening global partnerships and intensifying the fight against terrorism and crime. He made this known after receiving an economic briefing from the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Adum, during the Federal Executive Council meeting on Thursday. During the meeting, Edu said the Tinubu reform agenda continues to boost investor confidence and bring positive economic results. President Tinubu assured that his government remains focused on moving the country forward under the Renewed Hope agenda, despite current political and security challenges.
The task ahead is immense. We are engaging the world diplomatically, and we assure all of you that we will defeat terrorism in this country.
Meanwhile, a New York Times report says the U.S. military is preparing possible airstrike plans in Nigeria. According to the report released on Wednesday, the U.S. Africa Command has submitted several military options to the Department of Defense, following a request from Secretary Pete Hegseth to act on Trump's orders. Officials who spoke to the New York Times said the plans include 3 levels of military action, described as heavy, medium, and light. Earlier, President Donald Trump directed the Pentagon to prepare to intervene to protect Christians from terrorist attacks.
Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands and thousands of Christians are being killed. Radical Islamists are responsible for this mass slaughter. I am hereby making Nigeria a country of particular concern. I am asking Congressman Riley Moore, together with Chairman Tom Cole and the House Appropriations Committee, to immediately look into this matter and to report back to me. And I mean, like, immediately. The United States cannot stand by while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria.
And still on the U.S. response to alleged Christian genocide, a new bill introduced in the U.S. Congress has proposed targeted sanctions and other restrictive measures against individuals and groups accused of serious violations of religious freedom in Nigeria. The legislation specifically named the Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria and the Mieti Allah Cattle Hore as entities implicated in such abuses. The bill, introduced by Smith Christopher, member of the House of Representatives, proposed sanctions on members of the group, including visa restrictions and asset freezes. He presented the bill on Tuesday while commending U.S. President Donald Trump for redesignating Nigeria a country of particular concern. In the bill, Christopher noted that the U.S. has also placed Fulani ethnic militias operating in Benue and Plateau State on its entities of particular concern list under the International Religious Freedom Act. Christopher's bill also suggested that the U.S. should provide immediate humanitarian assistance directly to faith-based groups to support internally displaced people in Nigeria's Middle Belt states. Reacting to the bill, the chairman of Miyetti Allah in River State, Mohammed Tukur Abubakar, says Christians and Muslims in Nigeria are living in unity. Abubakar said this in response to a new bill introduced in the U.S. Congress that proposed targeted sanctions and other restrictive measures against individuals and groups accused of serious violations of religious freedoms in Nigeria. The legislation specifically named the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria and the Miyetti Allah Kautal Hore as entities implicated in such abuses. Speaking to correspondent Martha Okere, the Miyetti Allah chairman said the Nigerian government should not allow Trump to carry out his threats, saying the U.S. wants to use it to achieve something. He said his association is not fighting anybody.
Muslim and Christian, we are the same mother, the same father in Nigeria. No, not allow between Donald Trump and say a Muslim, they kill Christian. Is wrong because they need to achieve something for our country. Let them not allow this man to enter our country. If this man enter our country, that is why we don't finish. Anytime we see they organize our people to be Muslim and Christian united. Yet Allah nothing concern them to quarrel with anybody, to fight with anybody, to get tribalism with anybody.
And while Nigeria tries to explain to the world that there is no Christian genocide in the country, the embattled leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has written an open letter to President Donald Trump that the alleged killing of Christians has extended to the southeast. In the open letter, Kanu explains how he survived several assassination attempts from the Nigerian government. In politics, some members of the People's Democratic Party on Thursday held a protest at the United States Embassy in Abuja. The protesters called for international support to protect Nigeria's democracy and prevent the country from becoming a one-party state. They also submitted protest letters to the U.S. Embassy, the European Union complex, and the Ministry of Justice. Carrying placards, the demonstrators accused the ruling APC of intimidating opposition members and urged both the international community and the Ministry of Justice to step in to protect the judiciary and democratic system. To legislative matters, the Senate has confirmed Kingsley Ude, a senior advocate of Nigeria, as a minister of the Federal Republic. Ude was confirmed after his screening on Thursday. He previously served as Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Enugu State. During the screening, senators asked him questions on both the national and international issues. Senator Abdul Ningi asked for his view on the ongoing Trump threat and possible solutions, which caused a brief uproar as some lawmakers felt Ude had already shown his competence and should not be asked further questions. In his response, Ude said President Bola Tinubu was handling the matter diplomatically, describing it as an issue of diplomacy rather than law. And still on the legislature, but this time on proposed laws, some female students in River State have welcomed a new bill by the National Assembly that seeks to stop and punish sexual harassment in schools across the country. Speaking to our correspondent, the students say the bill is a good step that could help end cases of male lecturers demanding sex in exchange for grades.
As a student, though, it's good because there's some lecturers that just harass, and even when you report to the school authorities, they won't do anything. And if they are putting it in law, it's a good thing. At least it will help lecturers. At least they will be cautious, knowing that this thing is punishable.
It will actually stop many problems in the sense of sometimes in school, this sleeping with girls to get grades and all that.
One student added that while the bill is important, its success will depend on the government and school authorities having the courage to enforce it.
Bringing the bill is a strong and necessary move, but it will only work if the government and the school system have the courage to enforce it without fear or favoritism. Yes, if they do so, thousands of students will finally be able to learn without intimidation or trauma.
We'll take a break. When we return, primary healthcare workers in River State threaten to withdraw their services. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Primary healthcare workers in the state have threatened to withdraw their services by Sunday night if the government fails to pay all outstanding arrears. The chairperson of the Medical and Health Workers Union, Bapakaye James Glory, issued the warning while speaking on Nigeria Info FM's Morning Crossfire. She criticized the state government for what she described as the continued exclusion of primary healthcare workers from implementation of arrears. Glory questioned why primary healthcare workers are not being treated equally with their counterparts in local governments across the state, while demanding for equal treatment and simultaneous implementation of all arrears. She stressed that the workers' patience is running out and that industrial action will be unavoidable if the government fails to address their demands.
To our own shocking surprise, the traditional workers of the LGA were paid all their due remunerations. So we really wonder why at every point in time they need to exempt health workers in our various local governments. We've been raising issues requesting for the primary healthcare workers to be paid their promotion arrears. Where these things are not being done, that we are going to withdraw the services of the primary healthcare worker.
She also said the arrears for junior health workers have remained unpaid for nearly 2 years, while senior workers are being owed 9 months' salaries. In contrast, she noted traditional workers have received their payments without delay.
The junior workers have not even been implemented, not even talking about even their arrears. Junior workers, as of April, we are talking about 16 months. Then they implemented for the senior health workers, which the arrears is still pending for 9 months. And the traditional workers are not being owed for 1 naira. So our own agitation is what is good for the goose is good for the gander. You cannot have every other person working in the same local government and some part of the workers will be paid and some will not be paid.
And still in health, the president of the Association of Resident Doctors at the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital, Dr. Jack Charles, says the ongoing strike by resident doctors goes beyond financial issues owed by the federal government. Speaking in an interview with correspondent Martha Okere, Dr. Charles explained that the association is advocating against the casualization of health workers, which leaves them without certain benefits, as well as for improved security around hospital premises and the employment of more doctors. According to him, some doctors work more than 72 hours, with some performing back-to-back surgeries. Dr. Charles warned that such schedules increase the risk of mistakes, as doctors do not have adequate time to rest.
They're not asking for just money. They employ doctors on local basis. They are not privy to certain benefits that accrue to civil servants. For example, the National Housing Fund, the pension scheme, the medical residency training. Now, doctors are casualized for 5 years, 6 years. They're not even talking just doctors, health workers as a whole. So even as young as 10 years, no streets around the hospital. They're not asking for tenure. They're asking to employ these doctors. We have doctors who work for a long hours, more than 20 hours. For 58 hours, they have been doing different studies. You can't be working like that. So you are prone to making mistakes when you work for long hours.
Dr. Charles apologized to state residents for any inconvenience the strike may have caused, adding that their action aims to stabilize the health sector, improve standards, and ensure adequate numbers of qualified doctors are available to meet patients' needs.
We apologize to Nigerians, but what benefit will it be to Nigerians when you come to the emergency room? You can't stand, you can't sit, you can't check your blood pressure, you can't do the basic investigation. We are not doing this strike for ourselves, we are doing it for you and for us. We don't thank you.
Chairperson of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Ignatius Ajuri University of Education Chapter, Professor Ekaite Ekbo, has emphasized the importance of artificial intelligence to national development. Speaking at the university's 3-day maiden conference for 2025, themed Artificial Intelligence and National Development in 21st Century Nigeria, Professor Ekbo says AI has become one of the most powerful tools transforming sectors such as education, healthcare, finance, and agriculture.
AI is reshaping how societies function and how economics grow. For Nigeria, AI represents both a challenge and opportunity. The challenge lies in ensuring that we are not left behind in this digital revolution. The opportunity lies in using AI as a tool to accelerate sustainable development, improve governance, and empower our people. Our universities have a critical role to play in this transformation.
Also speaking at the event, the acting vice chancellor of the university, Professor Okechukwu Onuchukwu, represented by Professor Kingdom Oji, praised ASU for its continued role as a voice of academic excellence and intellectual integrity.
AI is reshaping how society.
We once again thank ASU for calling our scholars come together to brainstorm on issues of national development. Those who are coming here as educated people, students, from my side, please take AI seriously. That's the way to go. You can improve your skill, ICT, and of course, you can log into the library in Harvard, Australia, Japan, and you get the material. That is the work of AI. And of course, looking at the MDGs, that's room for lifelong learning, online learning, so when you increase our capacity for national development.
And now to a story that's generating questions on the quality of projects done by government and its agencies. Some residents of Gwara community in Kana local government area of River State are now sharing what they know about the overhead water tank that collapsed just 4 days after it was commissioned by the Minister of Environment, Balarabe Lawal. A resident who was at the scene told our correspondent Soibiruwari that the contractor may have used substandard material, saying the company failed to properly monitor the project. He added that the people of Gwara would never destroy a project meant to improve their lives.
But I heard the sound like thunder. People were complaining about the material that they used there, that the tank stands are not the kind of material they're supposed to use. They're supposed to use a very thick material, which is steel, and not this proof. We understand when they come, the high prep people and other people, they say that is the pillars are not very good of standing the tank.
Meanwhile, a structural engineer from the community, Debo Leso, also agrees that the material used in building the tank may have contributed to the disaster. He's calling on the Federal Ministry of Environment to investigate the cause of the collapse.
It should not be high prep. You can't be a judge in your own matter. And so the Ministry of Environment, which is the governing ministry to high prep, should be in charge of this investigation. They should be the people to set up this panel, and so that they can come up with an independent investigation that will be for what has happened. Because if high prep set up the panel, you don't expect that high prep will come up and blame itself. And so we expect the Ministry of Environment to do that.
A correspondent who visited the scene reports that the collapsed tank and its structure still lie on the ground, while HyPrep has set up a committee to find out what caused the incident. In a related development, the South-South People's Conference have expressed concern over the collapse and is calling for a thorough and fair investigation. The group secretary, Anthony Tabu, describes the event as an isolated case and cautioned against hasty or speculative conclusions. He urged the Ogoni people to remain united and vigilant in protecting the progress made in their communities. The mayor of housing, My Ace China, has donated millions of naira to help set up an entrepreneurship and vocational center in Mbo local government area of Akwa Ibom State. Speaking to journalists, China says he would fund a craft center and support the training of hundreds of young people. He joined Mbo stakeholders to launch the project and doubled his earlier pledge to provide startup funds for 30 out of the first 100 trainees. China says the initiative sets a new standard for local government leadership under its chairman, Sunday Okon Etim. The managing director of Construction and Housing, Mayor Limited, added that any local council that cannot lift at least 300 youths out of poverty has failed its people.
If a big man gives you money, he has cheated you. The only way a big man can help you is to teach you how to make money. And if you remember nothing I have said today, go home with this quotation and quote the mayor of housing that says, money will never bring productivity and wisdom. Money only magnifies what you are. It is productivity and wisdom that brings money.
He urged Mbo residents, government officials, and private citizens to support entrepreneurship instead of giving out handouts. China also reminded Nigerians that the country's economic success in the past was built on enterprise and agriculture.
When the white people saw how productive we were, they came and colonized us because they want to be buying our product at cheap price. Then came the cost of oil. Oil, instead of increasing our productivity, made us lazy and turned our eyes from learning how to fish, and we started begging from the fish that comes from oil. A man shall not live by fish alone.
The Rumokoro clan, Council of Chiefs and traditional rulers in Obiakpo local government area, has clarified that there are only 5 recognized traditional rulers representing the 5 communities in Rumokoro clan. In a statement, the paramount ruler and Nyaweli Rumokoro clan, Eze Allwell Ohonda, listed the recognized leaders as Eze Chibuzo Israel Okocha, as the traditional ruler of Rumokparakolosi community, Eze Anthony Nwawa, the paramount ruler of Elibolo community, Eze Walu Sam Oke, the paramount ruler of Awalama community, Eze Bekwele Weli Atam, the paramount ruler of Rumaholu community, and Eze Okudua Amadi, the acting paramount ruler of Elieke community, who is yet to be coronated. Eze Honda explained that the clarification became necessary following the activities of some individuals parading themselves as paramount ruler of Rumokpakurusi and Elibolo communities. He also added that he is the only one who has the right to coronate and install a paramount ruler in Rumokoro clan. The Shogun. He therefore urged the public to disregard anyone claiming to be paramount ruler of the affected communities outside the names mentioned. The news continues after the break. On the international scene, former U.S. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, has announced her retirement from Congress, ending a decade-long career that saw the California Democrat become one of the most powerful figures in U.S. politics. In a video message on Thursday, Pelosi says she will not be seeking re-election to Congress at the end of her term in January 2027. 85-year-old Pelosi became the first woman to serve as Speaker of the House and led her party in the lower chamber of Congress from 2003 until 2023. Pelosi was first elected to Congress to represent San Francisco in 1987 at the age of 47 and quickly rose through the ranks. On the news this evening, you heard President Bola Tinubu has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to global partnerships and security. We told you the U.S. military is reportedly planning a possible airstrike in Nigeria. We told you the U.S. is targeting visa ban and asset freezing for Miyetti Allah over the alleged Christian persecution claims. We reported that Rivers primary health workers are threatening to embark on strike over unpaid arrears. On the foreign scene, Nancy Pelosi has announced her retirement after decades in U.S. Congress. The news was edited by Ifunaya Obeme Ndukwe. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808 721 7215. I'm Sam Chinedu. Thanks for listening.